Welcome back, travelers. Tonight's file comes from a place that should not exist. A place hidden somewhere between forgotten highways and endless forests. A place where travelers stop for one night and sometimes never leave. The records are incomplete, the photographs are missing, and the few people who claim to have visited the motel rarely agree on what happened there. But every account shares one detail: the rain. Not a storm, not bad weather, just rain. Falling, hour after hour, day after day, year after year. As though the sky above that lonely roadside motel had forgotten how to do anything else. The strangest part is this. According to local records, Pine Motel closed sometime in the late 1980s. Yet travelers continue checking in, even today. And if the stories are true, someone is still working the front desk. Tonight's file begins with a woman named Emma Carter. October 21st, 2018, 11:14 p.m., Washington State, and a storm that should never have existed. The rain hammered against the windshield. Emma could barely see the road ahead. The wipers moved as fast as they could. Still, visibility remained terrible. Outside, endless pine forests stretched into darkness. No towns, no gas stations, no houses, only rain and road. Emma tightened her grip on the steering wheel. Her GPS had stopped working nearly 30 minutes ago. Her phone displayed the same message every time she checked. No service. The battery was almost gone. The fuel tank wasn't much better. A quarter tank remained, maybe less. She glanced at the dashboard clock. 11:13 p.m. One more hour of driving and she would need gas, if she could even find a station. Lightning flashed across the sky. For a split second, the forest became visible. Thousands of tall pine trees stood silently beneath the storm. Then darkness swallowed them again. Emma hated storms, especially at night, especially when she was alone. She was considering pulling onto the shoulder and waiting for morning when she saw it. A faint glow through the rain. At first, she thought it was another lightning reflection. Then she saw the sign. Pine Motel, vacancy. The neon letters flickered weakly. On, off, on, off. Relief washed over her. A motel, a warm room, a bed. Exactly what she needed. She slowed the car and turned into the gravel driveway. The rain became louder, much louder, almost unnaturally loud, as though it wanted her to notice it, as though it wanted her to remember. A few moments later, she parked beneath the motel entrance. The engine stopped. The world became quiet, except for the rain. The rain never stopped, not even for a second. Emma grabbed her backpack and hurried toward the office. The cold air shocked her. It felt much colder than it should have, like winter. The motel office door opened with a soft bell. Inside, warm yellow light filled the room. The smell of old wood drifted through the air. For several seconds, nobody appeared. Then a voice spoke from the darkness. Long drive? Emma turned. A thin, gray-haired man stood behind the front desk. His smile seemed friendly enough, but his eyes looked tired. Very tired. His name tag read, Mr. Holloway. Yeah, Emma said. The storm came out of nowhere. Mr. Holloway nodded. It usually does. Emma frowned. Usually? Something about the answer felt strange. Before she could ask, the manager opened an old guest register, a thick leather book. He slowly turned several pages, then stopped. Room 8. Emma felt a strange sensation, a tiny shiver. Room 8. For some reason, the number sounded familiar. She couldn't remember why. Mr. Holloway slid an old brass key across the desk. Attached to it was a metal tag. Room number 8. "One night?" he asked. Emma smiled. "Hopefully." The manager chuckled softly. "Most people say that." Again, a strange answer. Emma forced a smile. The manager pushed the guest register toward her. "Just sign here." She looked down. Several names already filled the page. Most were difficult to read, old handwriting, old dates. Then one name caught her attention. Daniel Mercer. The name sounded familiar, very familiar. But before she could think about it further, Mr. Holloway gently closed the register. His smile returned. "Enjoy your stay." Something about the way he said it made Emma uncomfortable. She couldn't explain why, only that it sounded less like a welcome and more like a goodbye. Room 8 sat near the far end of the second floor. The hallway was completely empty. No guests, no conversations, no televisions, nothing. Only the sound of rain. Endless rain. Emma unlocked the door and stepped inside. The room looked ordinary. A bed, a dresser, a television, a small desk. Nothing unusual. At least, not at first. She dropped her backpack onto the floor, removed her wet jacket, and finally relaxed. Then she noticed the clock. A small digital clock beside the bed. Its display read 3 a.m. Emma frowned. The clock was obviously wrong. She unplugged it, waited, then plugged it back in. The numbers vanished. A second later, they returned. 3 a.m. Still wrong. She checked her phone. 11:28 p.m. The clock remained unchanged. 3 a.m. A chill crawled down her spine. Outside, the rain continued, exactly the same. Never stronger, never weaker, exactly the same. As though time itself had stopped moving. Emma slowly walked toward the window. Something outside had caught her attention. Across the parking lot, standing beneath a flickering lamp, was a man, motionless, watching her window. Emma froze. The stranger didn't move, didn't wave, didn't blink. He simply stood there, in the rain, watching. And somehow, the rain never seemed to touch him. The man stood perfectly still. Rain poured across the parking lot. Water streamed from rooftops. Puddles rippled beneath flickering lights. Yet somehow, the stranger remained untouched. Emma blinked. For a moment, she thought it was a trick of the light, a reflection, a shadow, something created by exhaustion. Then lightning flashed. The man was still there, standing beneath the lamp, watching her. A cold knot formed in her stomach. She stepped away from the window. When she looked back a few seconds later, the parking lot was empty. The man was gone. Emma told herself not to panic. Long drive, no sleep, strange weather. Her imagination was probably working overtime. She locked the room door, pulled the curtains shut, and sat on the edge of the bed. The digital clock continued displaying the same numbers. 3 a.m. Not 3:01, not 3:02. Just 3. Forever. Outside, the rain continued falling. Steady, unchanging, almost hypnotic. Then a sound echoed through the room. 3 soft knocks. Knock. 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 Emma froze. Someone was at the door. She looked at the clock again. 11:34 p.m. on her phone. 3 a.m. on the motel clock. The knocking came again. Slow, patient. Knock. 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 Emma approached the door carefully. Hello? No answer. Only rain. She looked through the peephole. The hallway appeared empty, completely empty. Still, something felt wrong. Very wrong.
Emma slowly opened the door. The hallway stretched in both directions, silent, deserted, nobody there. She was about to close the door when she noticed something on the floor, a folded piece of paper, directly outside room 8. Emma picked it up. The paper looked old, yellowed with age. Its edges were worn. She unfolded it carefully. 3 words were written in faded black ink. Do not trust room 13. A chill raced through her body. She looked down the hallway. At the far end, a door stood alone, its brass number barely visible beneath the dim light. Emma immediately closed the door, locked it again, then checked the paper. Maybe it was some kind of joke, a prank left by another guest. Yet something about it felt genuine, urgent, like a warning, not a joke, a warning. The room suddenly felt smaller, the rain louder, the silence heavier. She decided she needed answers, and there was only one place to find them: the front office. 5 minutes later, Emma walked back through the motel corridor. Every door remained closed. No voices, no televisions, no signs of life. It was strange. A motel with a vacancy sign should have guests, at least a few. Yet the entire building felt empty, as though she were the only person there. When she entered the lobby, she found Mr. Holloway exactly where she had left him, standing behind the counter, smiling, almost as if he hadn't moved at all. Couldn't sleep? He asked. Emma placed the paper on the desk. The manager's smile faded slightly, only slightly. Where did you get this? It was outside my room. Mr. Holloway stared at the warning for several seconds, then calmly folded it, placed it inside a drawer, and closed the drawer. You shouldn't worry about things like that. Emma crossed her arms. What is room 13? The manager's expression became unreadable. For the first time, he looked uncomfortable, very uncomfortable. Room 13 is closed. Why? A long silence followed, then he answered, Maintenance. Emma didn't believe him, not for a second. Neither did he seem to expect her to. Before she could ask another question, the lobby door opened. A blast of cold air entered the room. Emma turned. A woman stepped inside.
Mid-30s, dark hair, rain-soaked jacket, terrified expression. She looked exactly like someone who had been driving through a storm. The strange thing was, she looked familiar. Very familiar. The woman approached the counter. Please tell me you have a room available? Emma felt a sudden chill. The words sounded familiar, almost identical to what she herself had said earlier. Mr. Holloway smiled. Room 8. The woman's face relaxed. Perfect. Emma stared. Room 8? But she was already staying in room 8. That made no sense. The woman signed the register, decided the key, and walked toward the stairs. As she passed Emma, something impossible happened. The woman never looked at her, not once, almost as though Emma wasn't there. Did you see that? Emma asked. Mr. Holloway nodded. See what? That woman. The manager seemed confused. What woman? Emma's blood ran cold. The lobby was empty again. The woman had vanished. Gone, as though she had never existed. Emma slowly backed away from the desk. Something was deeply wrong with Pine Motel, and she was beginning to realize it. Unable to sleep, Emma continued exploring. Near the back of the lobby, she discovered a small lounge area. A fireplace burned quietly. Several armchairs sat nearby, and for the first time, she saw other guests. 3 people occupied the room. An elderly man reading a newspaper, a teenage boy staring into the fire, and a woman drinking coffee. They all looked normal, ordinary. yet something about them felt strange. The elderly man glanced up. His newspaper immediately caught Emma's attention. The date, June 17th, 1987. Emma frowned. That couldn't be right. The newspaper looked old, but not that old. She approached carefully. "Excuse me?" The man smiled. "Evening. What year is it?" The man looked surprised. 1987, of course. Emma felt her heart skip. "What?" The man chuckled. "Interesting question." Then he returned to reading, as though nothing unusual had happened. Emma looked toward the teenage boy. "Do you know what year it is?" The boy shrugged. 1987? The woman drinking coffee gave the same answer. 1987. Every single one. Emma backed away slowly. Her pulse thundered in her ears. This had to be some kind of joke, a weird coincidence, anything but what she was beginning to suspect. The fireplace crackled softly. The rain continued outside, endless, steady, unchanging. Then the elderly man spoke again, without looking up from his newspaper. "You're new." Emma stopped. "What?" The man finally looked at her. His eyes appeared sad, exhausted, like someone carrying a burden for a very long time. "Most of us arrived during storms." The room became silent. The man continued. "Most of us thought we'd leave in the morning." Emma swallowed. "What do you mean?" The man folded the newspaper and quietly replied, "We all thought it was only one night." Silence. Then he added 4 words. "We were all wrong." Outside, lightning flashed. For a brief moment, the motel windows illuminated, and in that instant, Emma saw something standing beyond the parking lot, deep among the trees. A tall, dark figure, watching the motel, watching the guests, watching her. And when the darkness returned, the figure was gone. The figure vanished. One moment, it stood among the trees. The next, it was gone. Emma remained frozen beside the window. The elderly man slowly folded his newspaper. The crackling fireplace was the only sound inside the lounge. Outside, the rain continued, exactly as it always had, exactly as it always would. The old man looked toward Emma. "You saw it, didn't you?" Emma nodded. The man's expression darkened. "Then it's watching you now." A chill moved through her body. "What is it?" The old man didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked toward the ceiling, as though making sure nobody else was listening. Finally, he spoke. "We call it the listener." The room became silent. "The listener?" Emma asked. The old man nodded. "It waits in the forest. It watches the motel. And when someone stays too long..." His voice trailed away. The woman beside the fireplace quietly whispered, "It takes them." Emma no longer cared about sleep. She needed answers, real answers. She left the lounge and returned to the lobby. The front desk was empty. For the first time all night, Mr. Holloway was gone. The old guest register remained on the counter, open, waiting. Emma hesitated, then pulled it closer. Names filled page after page, hundreds of names, thousands maybe, decades worth of guests. She turned another page, 1985. Another page, 1983. Another, 1987. The motel record stretched backward endlessly. Then her eyes found something, one name, a familiar name.
Daniel Mercer. Emma froze. The truck driver. The same name she had seen earlier. Beside it was a date, October 21st, 2018. The same day, the same night. Her stomach tightened. Then she noticed another detail. Check-in time, 3 a.m. Checkout, blank. Emma slowly turned the page. More names. Every one of them missing a checkout date. Nobody had ever left. A sudden burst of static echoed through the motel. Emma jumped. The sound came from upstairs, room 13. The static lasted only a few seconds, then stopped. Silence returned. The rain continued outside. Emma stared toward the staircase. Every warning she had received suddenly returned. Do not trust room 13. But she already knew one thing. Every answer inside Pine Motel pointed toward that room, and she was done running from answers. The hallway upstairs seemed darker now. The lights flickered occasionally. The air felt colder. Emma walked slowly toward the final door. Room 13. Its paint was peeling, its brass numbers tarnished with age. The door looked untouched for years, yet the static had come from inside. Emma placed her hand on the handle. Locked, of course. Then she noticed something. A key, hanging from a hook on the wall nearby. Attached to it was a small metal tag. Room 13. Almost as if someone wanted her to enter. Almost as if someone had prepared for this moment. The key felt cold in her hand, ice cold. She unlocked the door. The lock clicked. The door slowly opened. Darkness waited inside. Emma reached for the light switch. Nothing happened. No electricity, no light, only darkness. Then lightning flashed outside. For a split second, she saw the room, and her breath caught. It wasn't a motel room. There was no bed, no television, no furniture. Instead, the room contained radio equipment. Old radio equipment. Microphones, transmitters, control panels, wires, hundreds of wires covering every wall. The entire room looked like a hidden broadcast studio. At its center stood a single chair, facing an old microphone. Emma stepped inside. The air smelled ancient. Dust, metal, rain, and something else. Something she couldn't identify. Then she saw the wall. Names. Thousands of names carved into the wood. Guests, travelers, visitors. Every person who had ever entered Pine Motel. Among them, she found one name. Daniel Mercer. Directly beneath it, someone had carved another name. Thomas Reed. The caller from 1987. Emma's heart pounded. This place was connected to radio station 13. Connected, somehow. Then the microphone crackled. Static exploded through the room. Emma jumped backward. The microphone had no power, no visible connection, yet it came alive anyway. And then, a familiar voice spoke. The same calm voice heard by countless travelers. The voice from radio station 13. Welcome back, listener. The room suddenly felt much colder. Emma couldn't move. The voice continued. We've been waiting for you. The microphone emitted soft static. Rain tapped against the motel windows. The voice sounded almost human. Almost. But not quite. We hope you've enjoyed your stay. Emma forced herself to speak. is this place? Several seconds passed. Then the voice answered. Pine Motel is a waiting room. Emma felt her stomach tighten. A waiting room for what? The voice replied immediately. For travelers. For stories. For broadcasts. The static intensified. The walls seemed to vibrate. Then the voice spoke again, and this time, it sounded older. Much older. We collect listeners. Suddenly, every clock inside the motel changed, at once. Every room, every hallway, every office, every clock displayed the same time. 3 a.m. The lights flickered violently. Downstairs, guests began screaming. Doors slammed open. Footsteps echoed through the hall. Something had changed. Something had awakened. The voice continued calmly. The broadcast is ending. Outside, the endless rain finally began to slow. For the first time all night, the first time in years, the rain was stopping. Emma ran to the window, and what she saw nearly stopped her heart. The forest surrounding Pine Motel was gone. The parking lot was gone. The road was gone. Everything was gone. Beyond the windows stretched only darkness. Infinite darkness. As though the motel was floating somewhere outside the world, somewhere between places, somewhere between moments. The voice spoke one final time. We'll see you again. Static. Silence. Darkness. Emma blinked. Morning sunlight touched her face. Birds chirped outside. The storm was gone. The rain was gone. Everything was gone. She was sitting inside her car, parked beside Highway 12. Alone. No motel. No parking lot, no building, nothing. Only forest and road, as though Pine Motel had never existed. Emma looked around in confusion. Had it all been a dream? A hallucination? A nightmare? Then she noticed something resting on the passenger seat. An old brass key. Attached to it was a metal tag. Room number 8. Emma's blood ran cold, because beneath the key lay a folded piece of paper, a fresh piece of paper, pred in black ink. It contained only one sentence. Thank you for staying at Pine Motel. And below that, a new file number. Radio station 13. Files, end of file, number 3. This has been another entry from the Radio Station 13 files. Good night, travelers. And if someone knocks on your motel door at exactly 3 a.m., make sure they're outside before you answer. Coming next, the passenger who was already inside. A lonely rideshare driver picks up a passenger on an empty Arizona highway at 3 a.m. The problem is, the security footage later proves nobody ever entered the car.